And as you know, we originally had Jerry Seinfeld scheduled for tonight. But then, fortunately, we discovered that Franklyn Dixon had a little gap in his schedule between headlining at the Los Angeles Comedy Store and hosting Saturday Night Live. So, I mean, we couldn't pass up that our opportunity, so it was out with Seinfeld and in with Franklyn. So, as most of you all know, Franklyn is a Waterleaf legend. Having lived here for 23 years, he served on the MPOA Board of Directors for 10 years, was president of the MPOA 7.5 years through some difficult times. So he's much appreciated. Like many of us that moved here, he came because one reason was we have a wonderful golf course. And he took advantage of that. And like most of us old guys, he started on the black tees. And then a few years later, he moved to the whites. A few years after that, he moved to the silvers. And then the greens. Of course, now he's out of men's tees. So what the hell? He moves up to the ladies' reds tees. And well, the family tees came on board just in time for Franklyn. So after a while there, he said, you know, my golf game's kind of a joke. I think I'll quit golf and move the jokes to a comedy routine. So here we are. So Franklyn's career revolved around the media production business, which led him to meet and work with many professional comedians. And it kind of gave him the bug. He said, you know, that looks like fun. That's something I think I'll do down the road. So that's what he's doing tonight. You know, he is getting older, and that career that we're talking about started back about the time of the origin of the Beatles. I mean, that long ago. Not the singing group, but the species. Yeah. Thank you, Al. So Franklyn will be available for autographs after his performance. He will be available for a small fee of $20 each, payable to me in advance with cash, check, PayPal, or Bitcoin. And if you paid my check, my name is spelled Xinos. So, we do have a warning for the audience. Take heed of this. Franklyn, you'll notice when he takes the stage, he has a cane. He doesn't really need that to help his walking, but he uses it to handle hecklers. So you're forewarned. So, without further ado, here's Franklyn.
Thank you very much, Sid. I must say, of all the introductions I have ever gotten, Sid, yours was the most recent. No, I need to be serious for 1 second. For those of you who don't know, Sid Xinos has just been elected Chairman of the Board of Supervisors of our CDD. And I think our Vice Chairman is here as well, or she was. Eileen, are you here? No. Oh, okay. Okay. I also wanted to call your attention to the beautiful military decorations provided for Veterans Day by Mary McLean. So Mary, thank you very much. Over the last few weeks, a number of you have asked me, am I nervous? And the funny thing is, well, until this morning, I wasn't nervous at all. But I was very puzzled. Why did I want to do this? I'm 84 years old. What's with the comedy career? And the more I thought about it, the more I came up with the answer. As many of you know, I spent almost 3 months in the hospital with my heart issue. And when you're in that kind of a situation, it's only natural that you start thinking about your mortality and things you'd like to do, but you haven't done. And comedy is definitely one of them. The second reason is, as many of my golfing buddies know, I really like people. I like being around them, and I like making them laugh. That's a lot of fun. So hopefully tonight we'll pull that off. I'm especially pleased to see my friends and, of course, my Monday, Friday golf guys. Guys, thank you so much for being here. So, when I first decided to do this, I eventually told Pauline, and her first reaction was, "Shoot me now." And that went on for several weeks until I said, "Well, I'm going to do it." She says, "Well, you'll see me under the table with a bottle of vodka." True. So I said, "Pauline, what is bothering you? Why are you so opposed to my doing this?" And she said, "Well, first of all, what if nobody shows up?" 2 shows sold out, nobody shows up. And then she said, "What if nobody laughs?" And I said, "If that's the case, that's on me. It means I'm not funny, and I'll probably end my career before it starts." And the third thing she said was, "Well, what if they boo you, and what if you have a heckler?" And I said, "Don't worry, if I have a heckler, I'm ready."
That's so.
Anyway, my brother came down for a visit from Atlanta with his wife, Pauline, and I decided it was time to do a dry run. I am required to run all my speeches and all my jokes past her to make sure that they're appropriate. So I sat them down and I did the full act for Pauline and my brother and sister-in-law. And when I was done, I looked at Pauline and she said, "I want to be your manager, 10%. So, a little bit of a background. By way of explanation, I spent close to 60 years in the meeting production business. My company produced very big meetings for corporations and associations. And invariably, with those meetings, there would be a headliner the last night. So I got to work with a great many stars, and especially in comedy, including Bob Hope, Milton Berle, and George Burns, who I got to know very, very well. I'll tell you more about that in a second, but I have to tell you this one thing before I forget. Folks, I do have an encore tonight. So if at the end of the show there is loud and sustained applause, I will do the encore. Okay, the thing about Burl and George Burns and all of them is not once in all the years, not once did I hear any profanity. And yet when I turn on television now, the filth that I hear is beyond, it's just beyond me. Women as well as men, every other word is a dirty word, and it doesn't do anything for the joke. To me, the important thing is if you're going to use profanity, use it to make the joke funny. This doesn't count, but let me give you an example. A woman walks into Tiffany's. She's very well groomed and very well dressed. And she starts looking around at the various tables to see what's there. And she comes across this one diamond necklace. And she is intrigued. So she leans over to get a better look, and just as she leans over, loudly, she farts. Well, she's so embarrassed, she doesn't know what to do, so she slowly gets up to look to see if anyone has heard her, and there standing right behind her is the sales manager. Well, to kind of cover up a little whoopsie, she says, tell me, I was wondering, how much is this necklace? And the sales manager says, Madam, if looking at the necklace caused you to fart, when I tell you the price, you're going to shit. Okay, so sign-ups for the profanity. I do use profanity, but I'll only use it, as you will see, to make a joke stronger. The last thing that intrigued me about doing this is I'm very uncomfortable with all the woke stuff going around. For instance, the recent Walt Disney production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It wasn't well received, it was panned, it lost money, and it just got to get away from that. So tonight, as my special guests, I'm going to tell you the true story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. True story. As you know, Snow White lived in the woods with the seven dwarfs. And every night when they were ready for bed, she would tuck them in, she'd kiss them goodnight on the forehead, and then she'd go upstairs to her bedroom. Well, this one particular night, they began hearing the strangest noises coming from her bedroom. And they were wondering what's going on. They were determined to get to the bottom of it. So the next morning when they left for work, they got an extension ladder and they lay it against the house so that it couldn't be seen. And that night, after everything was cleaned up and she tucked them in and kissed them goodnight, she went upstairs. They jumped out of bed and they ran outside and they put the ladder up so it was just below her window. And once it was set, they scrambled up. Dark and dopey and grumpy and lazy and silly and kinky and freaky and... Anyway, once they're settled in on the rungs, Doc brings himself up and he looks in the window and he goes, oh, she's taking off her blouse. Take off her blouse, take off her blouse, take off her blouse. Splash, splash. All the way down. And he looks again. Oh, she's taking off her skirt. Take off her skirt. Take off her skirt. Skirt. She's taking off her bra. Take off her bra. Take off her bra. She's taking off her panties. Take off her panties. Take off her panties. Take off her panties. Ooh, somebody's coming. Me too. Me too. Me too. This next joke has to do with the Hasidim community. You all know what the Hasidim are, those very religious guys. So the community has a tailor, and his name is Marcus Pincus. And all the people in this community use him for their tailor. So these two rabbinical students go to see him, and they're very upset because the last suit they bought, they wanted black, and they got dark purple, and they were very upset. So Marcus Pincus, you listen, the last time you sold us purple suits, we want black. Don't worry, you want black, you'll get black, no problem. He says, come back in 3 weeks, have you taken care of. 3 weeks go by, they come back, they try on the suits, they're beautiful, but because it's indoors, they're not sure of the color. They don't know what to do. They decide to take the suits outside and look at the color in the daylight. No sooner do they get outside when they see two nuns walking down the street in the opposite direction. So one says to the other, listen, when we walk by the nuns, take your sleeve and put it up against her sleeve, and you'll be able to tell if it's black or not. Great idea. So as they walk by, the one student goes up, quickly puts his arm against the nun's sleeve, says something, and the nuns walk, and they walk up the street, and The nun says to her sister nun, "What was that all about?" She said, "I don't know. He came up, he put his sleeve against my sleeve, and then he said something in Latin." No. He didn't say anything in Latin. It had to be Hebrew. No, it was definitely Latin. He says, "Well, maybe it was Yiddish?" He said, "No, I know it was Latin." "Well, for God's sakes, what did he say?" He said, "Marcus Picus fucked us." So there's a farmer, and he has 4 daughters, each more beautiful than the next, and he is very protective of his daughters. So there's one particular night, the girls are all going out, there's a knock on the door. "Good evening, sir. My name is Eddie. I'm here for Betty. We're going for spaghetti. Do you think she's ready?" And the farmer says, "Oh, she's ready, all right, but so is my shotgun. You have her home by midnight or else." "Yes, sir," and off they went. "Good evening, sir. My name is Mo. I'm here for Flo. We're going to the show. Is she ready to go?" "Oh, she's ready, all right, and so is the shotgun. Midnight or else." Okay, who hasn't come yet? Mo? Flo. Knock on the door. "Good evening, sir. My name is Mo. I'm here for Flo. We're going to the show. Is she ready to go?" "Oh, she's ready, all right. Have her home by midnight or else." Well, the last daughter, the youngest, the most beautiful, and clearly the farmer's favorite, was the last one left. "Good evening, sir. My name is Chuck," and the farmer shot him. So this young lady wants bigger boobs, but she's against an operation, refuses to have an operation. So she hears about this famous homeopathic doctor who prescribes a cream, a salve, and it's supposed to make your boobies grow bigger. And he says to her, "Look, every morning you have to put this on, and you have to say the following." And before I tell you this, I have to pay tribute to Connie Karkonen, because the first time I told Connie Karkonen this joke, she showed me a way to make it better. So you're now going to hear Connie Karkonen's better version. "Every morning, Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. And if I do this every day, my boobs are sure to grow." So every day she does this, and sure enough, her boobs start to get bigger. Well, one day she's late for work, puts on the salve very quickly, but doesn't have time to do the little poem. So she runs out of the house, runs onto the bus, and when she thinks nobody's looking, she goes, "Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and if I do this every day, my boobs are sure to grow." When a gentleman comes over to her and says, "Excuse me, ma'am, pardon me, but are you seeing that famous homeopathic doctor, Dr. Surratt?" She goes, "Well, yes, I am. How did you know?" He goes, "Hickory dickory dock." I don't know how to set up these next few jokes, but it seems for some reason Jewish jokes always come into play. And I, being one, am allowed to tell you these because a couple of them. Rabbi and a priest are the best of friends. And one day they're having lunch together, and the priest says to the rabbi, he says, "Rabbi, tell me, we're friends. Have you ever had a ham sandwich?" He says, "Well, yeah, I got to admit, before I became a rabbi, I did have a ham sandwich." He says, "How was it?" He says, "Oh, it's pretty good." He says, "Now, Father, you tell me, have you ever slept with a woman?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, once, way back when, I did sleep with a woman." He says, "Beats eating ham, doesn't it?" These 3 rabbis and a Catholic kid. 3 Jewish kids and a Catholic kid are the best of friends. And the 3 Jewish kids become rabbis, and the Catholic kid becomes a priest, but they stay close friends. Well, the priest gets his first assignment. He's going to give his first sermon, and he calls up his 3 friends, the rabbis. He says, listen, I'm doing my first sermon. You got to come and be there. Of course, it's a Sunday. We wouldn't miss it for the world. Sunday comes, the entire town turns out. It's so crowded, there are no seats left. When who walks in but the 3 rabbis? The priest gets up to give the sermon. He sees his 3 friends standing in the back. So he turns to the choir boy and he says, son, get 3 chairs for the rabbis in the back. Are you sure, Father? No, absolutely. Get 3 chairs for the rabbis in the back. Kid steps forward and says, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what this is about, but 3 chairs for the rabbis in the back. So there's a beehive, and the bees are all going out gathering pollen, getting pollen. One bee can't find any pollen. He doesn't know what to do. So he turns to, I got to take a drink. Can't find any pollen. Turns to one of his fellow bees, says, where are you guys getting all the pollen from? He says, well, you go down the street and you make a left turn, and there's a synagogue in there. And in the synagogue, they're having a bar mitzvah. And the tables are festooned with flowers. If you sneak in, you go flower to flower, you get all the pollen you need. So it was. He goes down the street, he makes a left. There's the synagogue for him. He sneaks in, and sure enough, flowers everywhere. He gets all the pollen he can possibly carry. Goes back to the beehive, and there's his buddy. His buddy says, wow, you did very well with the pollen, but what's that funny little beanie on your head? He says, oh, that's called a yarmulke. I didn't want them to think I was a wasp. So I'm going to be telling you a few stories tonight about Sam Schwartz. Sam lived in New York, was in the retail business, and every day at lunchtime, he would take a walk up Fifth Avenue. Well, there's one day he doesn't realize it, but it's Ash Wednesday. And as he's walking up Fifth Avenue, the sheer press of the crowd forces him into St. Patrick's Cathedral, down the aisle, in front of the priest, ashes on his forehead, and again the crowd out the door. He can't believe what just happened. So he calls his wife. He says, Becky, you won't believe what just happened to me. She says, Sam, I'm sorry. I'm in the beauty parlor. I can't talk. I'll talk to you tonight. I'll call my daughter. She'll talk to me. So, hello, sweetheart. It's your father. You won't believe what just happened to me. Dad, I'm playing mahjong with the girls. I can't talk right now. I'll call you tonight. I'll call my son-in-law. He works for me. He has to talk to me. Sydney, it's your father-in-law. You won't believe what just happened to me. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm on the golf course. I can't talk. I'll call you tonight. And he hangs up. Sam says, I don't believe it. I'm Catholic 10 minutes already. I don't like 3 Jews. I think you have to be too hard on that one. So this Chinese couple are the result of an arranged marriage. It's their wedding day. They get married. They hardly know each other. They go up to the hotel room. She gets shower, gets cleaned up, crawls under the covers. He gets his shower, wraps a towel around, comes out. Kind of embarrassed. He says, so, what do you want to do? She says, we try 69? He says, you want chicken with cashews? So this golfer finishes his round of golf and he goes to the bar. And he stays too long and he drinks too much. And the next thing he knows, he throws up all over his shirt. Oh my God, my wife is going to kill me. The bartender says, no, 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 here's what you do. When you get home, you give her $10 and you say, the guy sitting next to me threw up on my shirt and he gave me $10 to get my shirt cleaned. That's a great idea. So he goes home, gives his wife some money. She says, what's this? He says, well, the guy sitting next to me threw on my shirt and he gave me $10 to get the shirt cleaned. And his wife says, oh, but there's $20 here. Oh yeah, he also shit in my pants. This guy walks into the bar. He's very muscular, but he has a head the size of a grapefruit. And the bartender is looking, he gives him his drink, and after the guy's had a couple of drinks, he says, listen, I don't mean to be rude, but I have to ask you, what's with your small head? He says, well, I was walking in the woods, and I came across this urn, and I rubbed it, and sure enough, the most beautiful genie came out. She was gorgeous. She said, look, you have 3 wishes, but only 3, and once you've made the wish, that's it. It's okay. I always want to have a roll of $20 in my pocket. Poof. Sure enough, I'm in his pocket. Is I also want to have a beautiful home that I can live in, worry-free, for the rest of my days. Poof. You have one more wish. You know, I don't quite know what to wish. He said, look, you're very beautiful. How about, for my last wish, you give me a little head? This spaceman shows up at a diner, and in the diner are 4 high school girls, maybe a little older. One of them takes one look at this spaceman. She says, wow, he's gorgeous. She goes up to him and says, pardon me, but how do you people, where you come from, make love? And he says, let me show you. He takes his finger and he touches her on the forehead, and she has the most incredible orgasm she has ever had. He says, oh my God, that was incredible. Can you do it again? And he says, yeah, in about 15 minutes. Woman goes to a psychiatrist. She says, whenever my husband orgasms, whenever, he screams. The psychiatrist, well, that's kind of interesting. I think it's pretty sexy. What's the problem? She says, it wakes me up. So this guy goes ice fishing, and he's fishing and fishing, can't catch anything. The guy up a little bit that way, catching fish left and right. He says, how are you catching all the fish? You have to share with me. And the guy goes, what's that supposed to mean? I'm sorry, I don't understand. You got to keep the worms warm. So you're going to like this next one. This guy gets arrested for performing oral sex on a chicken in public. On a chicken. They bring him before the judge. The judge says, you've been arrested for performing oral sex on a chicken. What have you got to say for yourself? And he goes, phew. So this gentleman has a pet parrot, and the pet parrot is talking up a storm. Very, very talkative. One day he starts carrying on. I want a woman. I'm horny. I want a woman. Okay, we'll get you a woman. So he takes his little parrot, who's a blue parrot with a yellow beak and yellow feet, puts him in the cage, and they start going from pet store to pet store to try to find a female. They can't find one. Finally, they find this one cute little green parrot, yellow beak, yellow feet. And the parrot goes, oh, I'm in love, I'm in love. Shh. How much to fix up my parrot with your parrot? $50. What? Pay it. Okay. So he pays them the $50, and they put the little boy parrot in the cage with the little girl parrot, and so they can have some privacy, they cover up the two cages, the cage where the two parrots are. Doesn't take 2 minutes. Help, 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 help. The female is screaming, help. They pull the cover off, and what they see is the male parrot, the little green parrot, has the female by the neck on the bottom of the cage, and he's pulling out her feathers, and he says, for $50, I want you naked. Barbara Walters was doing a special on the American Indian, and she decided to visit the local reservation to find out more about it. Goes to the reservation and sees this one particular Indian with one feather hanging from his hair. And she says, pardon me, sir, but what's the story of the feather? And he says, one feather, one squaw. Well, she's not 100% sure of that answer, so she sees another Indian walking with two feathers. She says, sir, what's the significance of the two feathers? He says, two feathers, two squaws. Okay. Looks a little further, and who does she see but the chief with all those feathers? She says, chief, what's the story with all the feathers? He says, me chief, me screw 'em all female, me screw 'em all. She says, oh, that's hostile. He says, hostile, doggy style, missionary style. Oh, it doesn't matter. Me chief, me screw 'em all. He says, oh, you could be hung. Goddamn right I'm hung like a buffalo. Stiff like a tree. Me chief, me screw 'em all. She goes, oh dear. No dear. Ass too high, run too fast. So you may remember we met Becky and Sam at the beginning of the set. Well, it's their 20th anniversary, and they decide to go out special. But while he's getting dressed, the button on his fly pops off. Mrs. Schwartz, please, the button on the fly, it broke off. Would you mind sewing it on for me? She says, I can't. My nails are wet. I just did my nails. Go next door to Mrs. Goldberg. She'll do it for you. So he goes next door, and the next thing you hear is screaming and yelling and banging. He comes back into his house, and he's all beat up. He's bloody. His clothes are ripped. So, oh my God, what happened? He says, well, I went next door like you said, and I said, Mrs. Goldberg, Mrs. Schwartz is doing the nails. My button popped off my fly. Could you please, could you sew it on for me? And she says, I'll be happy to. And she was just getting ready to bite the string when her husband walked in. If your neighbor doesn't get it, you can explain it to them. Okay, so 10 years go by, it's their 30th anniversary. She said, listen, sweetheart, last time our 20th didn't go so well. This is our 30th. Anything you want, I will give you. He says, okay, I want a BJ. Now, I don't do that. He said, I know you don't do that, but you never have. You said I could have whatever I want. That's what I want. Okay, a promise is a promise. He leaves. She runs to the phone and called her friend Mildred. Said, Mildred, I promised him a BJ. I don't know what to do. It's very simple. You go out, you get a ketchup bottle. For the next few days, you practice on the ketchup bottle. And so she does. The big night comes. It's their anniversary, dinner. He says, sweetheart, you remember your promise? She said, oh, I remember all right. They go into bed. She says, are you ready? He says, I'm ready. She grabs his willy and goes. So now it's their 40th anniversary. Everything's gone wrong. He says, honey, listen, it hasn't gone so well for the 20, for the 40. For our 40th anniversary, I would like your permission that I could go with a hooker. She says, a hooker? He says, look, not once in all our years have I strayed. I've never had another woman. I'd like to try it once. I'd like your permission that I can go with a hooker. She says, okay, on one condition. You have to tell me how it is. Fair enough. He goes out with the hooker, comes home. How was it? Yeah. No, come on. How was it? It was good. How was it? It was incredible. What was so incredible? At the exact moment of ecstasy, she moaned. She moaned? She moaned. I can do that. You would do that for me? I will gladly do that. Tomorrow night, when we have dinner, I will moan. The next night comes, a lovely, lovely dinner. I go into the bedroom. He says, do you remember your promise? Absolutely. I said, okay. And they start getting it on. Should I moan now? No, not yet. I'll tell you when. A bit later. Should I moan now? Well, not, but soon. Be ready. 2 minutes later. Okay, now. Moan. I say what a day I have. So, a Catholic woman and a Jewish woman are the very best of friends, but they're getting on in years, and they decide they each should go to an not assisted living, what's the other? Independent living. That's what they want. They want independent living. But they decide that they're going to keep their friendship going. So a few weeks later they meet, and the Jewish lady says to the Catholic lady, so how's it going? She says, actually, it's going pretty well. I met a guy. We go to dinner. We go dancing. We come back to my room. We go upstairs. I let him fool around with me on top. And then I let him fool around with me on the bottom. And then what? And then, well, then we sing Irish songs. How about you? What's going on with you? He says, well, it's kind of funny. I too met a man. He's very nice. We go to dinner. We get together. And I say, listen, before we go upstairs, I have to tell you, I have acute angina. He said, well, that's good because I love your titties. And then what? She says, well, then we go upstairs. And like you, I let him fool around with me on top. And then I let him fool around with me downstairs. And then what? Well, we don't know any Irish songs, so we fuck. You may not believe this, but this is true. July 24th is National Old Joke Day. It really is, Old Joke Day. So Pauline and I started checking. We wanted to find a good old-fashioned joke to tell you guys tonight. And this is my last joke of the regular set. There was a national contest, and the two winners were a kid from Harvard and a kid from the University of Tennessee. And the contest was, they were brought on stage, and while one was in the isolation booth, the other was center stage and given a word to which he had to make a poem in 10 seconds. Wow. So they put the kid from Tennessee in the booth. Kid from Harvard is out there. I say, son, your name is, your word is Timbuktu. 10 seconds goes by. He says, far across the desert sand trekked the lonely caravan. Men on camels, 2 by 2. Their destination, Timbuktu. Wow, the crowd went wild. He did that in 10 seconds. No way the kid from Tennessee is going to match that. They bring him out, put him center stage. Son, your word is Timbuktu. 10 seconds. 10 seconds goes by. Me and Tim a camping went. We met 3 girls in a pop-up tent. They was 3 and we was 2. So I buck 1 and Tim buck 2. So I dedicate this joke to Dr. Glenn Josby. Not only is it his favorite joke, but the guy probably saved my life with my heart issues. So Glenn, this one's for you. There's a young man living in Connecticut, and his name is Archibaldus Holbroken.
Oh, this is a good one.
Where's my curtain? Oh, there you are. Okay. His name is Archibaldus Holbroken. Family moves to South Carolina. And Archie has to go to school the first day. Teacher says, Archie, introduce yourself to the class. Class, my name is Archibaldus Holbroken. No, Archie, we don't do it like down here. Down here is how we do it. You say a syllable, you spell the syllable, then you add the next syllable, and then the preceding syllable, and build up your name that way. And poor little Archie, I don't understand. You there in the 3rd row, stand up. Introduce yourself to the class. Class, my name is Tommy Tucker. T-U-C-K, there's your tuck. E-R, there's your there's your tucker. E-R, gotta start again. T-U-C-K, there's your tuck. M-Y, there's your me, there's your Tommy. T-U-C-K, there's your tuck, there's your me tuck, there's your Tommy tuck. E-R, there's your there's your tucker, there's your me tucker, there's your Tommy tucker. Thank you very much. Archie, what do you think? He says, I think I got it. Class, my name is Archibaldus Holbroken. A-R-C-H, there's your arch. I, there's your I, there's your arch-I. B-A-L-D, there's your bald, there's your eyeball, there's your Archibald. A-S, there's your ass, there's your bald ass, there's your eyebald ass, there's your Archibaldus, there's your Archibaldus. H-O-L, there's your hole, there's your asshole, there's your bald asshole, there's your eyeball asshole, there's your Archibaldus Holbroken. B-R-O-K, there's your book, there's your whole book, there's your asshole book, there's your bald asshole book, there's your eyeball asshole book, there's your Archibald asshole book. E-N, there's your N, there's your boking, there's your whole boking, there's your asshole boking, there's your bald asshole boking, there's your eyeball asshole boking, there's your Archibaldus Holbroken. Thank you very much. Thank you.